Hey everyone, welcome to this sharing. And yeah, this is a sharing really. And I think if you are on YouTube, you probably see that it's quite lengthy. Yeah, it's quite lengthy. From now when I'm organizing it, I'm seeing it's going to be about eight to nine parts. So, and that's really long, and it should be. I'll try. The reason behind that being that there is so much like I would want to put into this, such that this does not, I don't mess this up. Okay. um it's taken me months and months and months of organizing this and researching it and putting it like this. So I wanted to do a good job on this. Okay, so what is this about? uh from the title, it is going to be about, I'm trying to streamline, okay, put into context everything that is about Christianity. Yeah, I'm trying to bring Christianity into context. From personal experience, I've learned that so many times, um, we we Christians, we have bits and pieces of our faith. Okay, we understand bits and pieces of it. Jesus died for us. We have an enemy called the devil. The world is not our home. Like, we have bits and pieces of this, but rarely do we have the whole picture. And that is really what I'm trying to do today. Try to paint the whole picture such that we see exactly where we fall. And it is a massive undertaking. Am I thinking that I'm up for the job? Do I think I'm qualified enough to really do this? But I have researched it, and this is really my own faith sharing. It's going to be how I view all this, how I take all this. Yeah. So it is my faith sharing. And the reason I'm documenting it like this is because I believe it can help so many people. I believe that it will put into context so many of the things that we believe and why do we believe them and all that. I'm asking for pardon earlier on for the mistakes that I end up doing. I'm really going to do this once. I don't want to keep, because whether I want this or not, there are mistakes I'm going to do in talking mainly. Even though I've organized this, I could not bring myself to really write the whole script. It would have been very boring for me. So I apologize for any mistakes in grammar, in speaking, and in all that. Just bear with me. So, from another point from this introduction before we really get into it is, I am Catholic. So probably most of the time I will be using examples that are more Catholic. Like, I'll be using from my own point of view, from the things I've experienced. But this, I do not think in any way means that anyone else, any other Christian, will feel out of place. The whole aim of this is not to try and say, oh, this one is better than this. Yeah. The aim of this is to talk about Christianity in its fullness, yeah, without really going into the details, like, oh no, the Catholics believe like this, and the Orthodox like this, and the Anglicans like this. Yeah. So I'll be using lots of examples from the Catholic Church, though I'll try to bring in as many other examples as I can from the experiences of the Pentecostal, of the Evangelical, of the Anglicans, and all that. So I thought I put that out there. Okay, so let's get into it. Welcome to this sharing. And to start, it's going to be a story, and the reason for this is that I picked this from Christ himself, because he put his big things, the things that he really wanted us to understand, in story form. A story is good because regardless of where you are in, like, regardless of where you are born, where your context of life, the story, the meaning in it stays the same. For example, when you read the prodigal son, it does not matter whether you are Jewish or you're Greek or you're Roman or you're African or you're American. It does not matter. The story itself carries the message is in the story. All you have to do is understand the story and you'll get the message Christ was trying to tell us. That's why I'm going to make this as cohesive as story-like as I can possibly do. Okay? So, and this is going to be the story because it is the story about all of us. Yeah, it is the story about all of us. I do believe even non-believers, like if you do take the time without bias, without bias, without prejudice, and try to follow this, I believe you'll understand why we believe what we believe. Okay? If you have always thought of Christians as nutcases, like these guys are mad, they believe in all these fantastical things. Yeah, try to see it now from our point of view, as I am going to tell this from the point of view of God. That's the story, God's point of view, and then our story falls into that story. Okay? All right, so where does this story really begin? Oh yes, I am Emmanuel Daniel. Yeah, I'm the one who is doing all this. So where does this whole story begin? It begins with nothing, let's say. Okay, because that's where really our story starts from. Okay, so let's start like from zero, from nothing, from a blank dark screen. Okay, and the very first thing we find out is that there is God. Okay, the one thing, the absolute one thing that defines God, that characterizes God, is that he is eternal. He has always been. That is his one definitive characteristic. If he is created, he is no longer God. Okay, the minute you say like, oh yeah, this one came from, so that's why everything must start from him, because he is the beginning of everything. He is the beginning and the end of everything. So the one defining characteristic of God is that he is eternal, uncreated. Okay, and we believe that he is not one, like he is one God, but in three persons. Okay, so we have God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And of course we already starting with the heavy stuff. In the Catholic Church, I think Christianity as a whole, we define this one as the mystery of the Trinity, because it is impossible for us to understand this. I have to underline this. No matter how much we try to, God is incomprehensible to us. Just think about it like this. From the very fact that he is uncreated and we are created, that means we are in two different dimensions. Our realities are very, very different. So he is incomprehensible. So when we are talking about the fact that he is the Father, he's God, he's triune, he's three in one, three distinct persons. I should point that out, that the Father is distinct from the Son is distinct from the Holy Spirit is distinct from the Father, but the three of them are God. Like that doesn't make sense at all. Okay, and it's not supposed to make sense. Okay, it is not supposed to make sense because of the reason I gave. He is from his reality, his nature, his reality is completely different from ours. We can study each other, we can study animals, we can study plants, we have the same reality, so we can understand each other. God's reality is so different from ours that he is incomprehensible. it does not matter how much someone explains it, it is not possible for us to understand him. However, we do try to understand him from, we use analogies, okay, because God is such a big part that we cannot not try to understand him. So we use analogies. We try to say, when we're talking about the Trinity, what do we really mean? Okay, and we have, as the church in general, theologians and philosophers and great thinkers, they have come up with different ways to try to understand God, to try to say this analogy sort of explains God, but it's not the real him. Okay, so the first analogy I'm going to use two. Okay, the first one is when we talk music. Okay, music is something that is common for all humanity. So when we talk of a chord, okay, in music, a chord is made up of 3 notes. If you have ever seen a keyboard or a piano, okay, you know all this. So if you ever see one and you press one of the notes, you know, the white note between 3, you know, this one here called G, when you press it, that makes its own sound. And when you press B, that too makes its own sound. And when you press D, that makes its own sound. They are distinct. The sounds they make are unique for each. The G sound is different from the B sound and is different from the D sound. However, when you press them together, they make another sound, which is all these 3 together, what we call the G chord. Okay, so these are notes, like G is a note, B is a note, D is a note, but together when you press them, they still make one. You don't hear 3, you still hear 1, but it is beautiful. All 3 have come together. Like, this sort is an attempt to explain how the Trinity is. Okay, he is 3, God is 3 distinct persons, but so cohesive that he is one. So we don't have 3 gods, we have one God who is 3 persons. Just like a chord is one G chord made up of 3 notes. Okay, an attempt to explain this, okay, of course an analogy, but it sort of gives you an idea. If you ever get an opportunity, have someone play it for you, or you play it for yourself. Just press the G, press the B, press the D, then press all of them together and listen to that beautiful sound, and like, okay, so the 3 together are making this one. Okay, all right. Another analogy which I think is close at home, okay, which sort of more or less explains what brings home to us what it is like to be God, for God, okay, yeah, what it is like for God to be 3 but 1, and that is the marriage, a union between a man and a woman. Okay, it is unique because in a marriage, this man has had his whole life. He was brought up in a whole different setting by a whole different family, following different things, like their values were different. In some homes they say, oh, all the children must be in bed by 7. In some homes, no, the children can sleep at 10. In some homes, like mine specifically, no child was supposed to be home. Like, yes, you'd go up how far, but by 7 everyone was supposed to be back home. You see, and whereas in some homes they push that a bit, like, up to 9. You can stay out till 9, you know. And whereas my parents insisted that we have to be home by 7, they never really insisted on the time we sleep. So you find we'd sleep at 10, at 11, at midnight, during holidays, even 1, just watching TV. So different homes, different values. So this man has grown up in such. This woman has also grown up in such. They are 2 very, very distinct people. More so, even more, a man and a woman, they are also sort of different, like biologically. okay? How the female body looks is not how the male body looks. How the female mind works is different from how the male mind works. However, in marriage, we say two become one. Do you see how mind blowing that is? That's how Christ defined it. He said, two, the man and the woman, will become one. And when you think about it, in an ideal marriage, this is exactly what is supposed to happen. In an ideal marriage, we don't have those. I don't think they are. Maybe after 50, 60, 80 years, I don't know, of marriage, maybe you'll be closer to it. But at the beginning, it is not possible to have two distinct people becoming one. But that's what an ideal marriage is supposed to be. Such that if you're bringing up the children, you will have different ways you'll handle them. But you'll still be aiming at achieving the same thing. Okay? For example, if the man tells the son, you're supposed to do these chores every morning, and the son is complaining, he's like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, and the son goes to the mom, it's like, Dad is making me do this. The mom will use different language, okay? Maybe she will be softer when speaking to her son, but in the end, she must get him to do exactly what the dad had said, because the two of them had already agreed upon it, about it. I think, I'm not sure of the word to use there. They had already agreed that this is what he's supposed to be. They had agreed every morning our son is supposed to wake up at 7 and, I don't know, take out the rubbish or go out and take the goats to the farm every morning. So the father tells the son, and the son doesn't like it, runs to the mother. The mother uses different language. She uses her feminine touch. But in the end, she gets him to do exactly what the father had said. The opposite being true too. The mother tells the daughter, every morning you must wake up and make sure you prepare breakfast for the whole family. And the daughter is so furious. I don't want to do this. I want to sleep more. And she goes to the dad. And the dad carries her around the house and then tells her, in his way, he makes her understand why she must do what the mom said. The two, even though they are distinct, they are working as one. They are one. It is supposed to reach an extent whereby that if an outsider came and met the woman and asked her about whichever reason you can think about, can you lend me some money, or can you, whichever reason, the answer the woman must give when this same outsider meets the man, it must be the same in different words. Use the message is told in different ways because they are distinct. However, the answer they give must be one, and this is what an ideal marriage is. I think the biggest problem with marriages right now, and it's no surprise for anyone really who thinks about it, it is that the two people never really come to concession about what they should do. So you find, for example, in Uganda, the man says the children must go to a boarding school in primary 5, and the woman says no, the children must go to boarding school in Form 1, in secondary school Form 1. You see, so they never come to a concession about that. So whoever pushes it, like for example, the man pushes and is like, okay, I'm sending the child to school in Form 5, in primary 5, sends the child to school, and the mom is always meeting. She's always like, I never wanted this to happen. Like I preferred every time the child comes from school complaining, they are bullying me, mommy, and the mother is like, I never wanted this in the first place. I wanted you to go when you were a bit older, when you are 13. That there's no unity there, there's no oneness. That means they are still divided. One wants one thing, the other wants something else, and they are just together because of marriage and society and all that, but there's no unity. The unity should be that when the child comes from school crying about being bullied because the dad took him there, the mother finds a way of soothing, but emphasizing the point that you must actually indeed go to school at this age. That shows the unity, the oneness. Okay, So in an ideal marriage, the two of them are a real reflection of what the Trinity is. Three distinct persons working as one. Okay? And in a marriage, the two, actually, I feel like it's a reflection of the Trinity, because the third person of these two is God. That's why we like do it in church. I don't know if you know that in a marriage, the people who are really, really important, it's God, who is represented by the priest or a pastor, and the man and woman. The man and woman, the three of them make up the marriage. That's why they do it from church. So the third person of this Trinity is God, you know. So anyways, that was just by the way. Okay, so the only way this is able to happen, like the only way a man and a woman are able to be so united, that even though they are two distinct people, they are working with harmony and unity, that you can call them one. The only way that is possible is because of love. And it's exactly the only way, I think, that this is possible, that the Trinity is possible. That's why the one defining characteristic of God, okay, I should say the second defining, since the first one I said was he's uncreated. The second defining characteristic of God is that he is love. Those are the two things we absolutely know about who God is. He is uncreated and he is love. And it is love that makes this unity possible. I'm 100% certain of this. You see, when as human beings, when you fall in love, you do feel this. I don't know if anyone here is listening has ever fallen in love. You know what I'm talking about. When you fall in love with a woman, or when a woman falls in love with a man, there's this unity, this thing that kind of draws you together, and you feel like, oh my God, I don't want this person to ever be away from me. You feel like, I mean, it is usually in the rosy stages as you begin out, you feel like I could sit with this person and we talk from morning till evening. We seem to be in sync. We seem to want the same things. We seem to have the same outlook on life, the same perspective of things, the same this and the same that. You're talking about the unity, which is God. Remember, I'm saying all this is an analogy, okay? Not really defining God. We cannot. But the things we do know about him is that God is love. God is love. Like, love and God are the same thing. You get that? That's what God is love means, okay? We say God on one side, we say is, and we say love on the other side. And love and God are the same thing. That's why God, I think, is able to be three persons but still be one. Okay, anyway, so let's move on. There are different ways that we really can talk about God. Just like I will be doing this quite a lot, whereby I'm trying to relate our understanding of God with how our understanding of each other, because the only way we can know God is from how we understand each other. Okay, so when you're talking about a human being, usually you talk about them in two ways. You talk about a human being as a man, then you talk about what they do. Say a doctor, a female engineer, a male nurse. You see, like, you're talking about sort of their nature, and then you're also talking about what they do. The work we do is very important in defining who we are. Okay, that's, I think, one of the first things when you're learning, when you're talking to someone, when you're trying to learn someone, you ask them, what do you do? Such that by them telling you, you sort of get an impression, you get an idea about who they are. You're like, oh yeah, you're that. Oh, you are an astrophysicist. Suddenly your mind is clicking. Scientist, very clever, likes questioning a lot and all that. Okay, excuse me. So when you are out, the work we do is very essential in talking about, in telling others about who we are, other than who our nature, like our body, how we look, male, female, and all that. The work we do is also very important. So we have spent some time so far talking about God's nature. God as three persons in a bond of love. But now we are going to talk about the work that he does, okay? Because his work also tells us more about who he is, okay? And there are really two things, two defining the work that we really know about God is one, he is a creator. He creates. If there are any creators out there, you love making stuff, just know you share that propensity with God, that desire to make stuff. So God is a creator. We know this because God is perfect. Perfect means that he has no need of anything. That's the definition of perfect. He has no need of anything. He by himself is enough, is sufficient. So he chooses to create not out of a desire for anything, but out because, just think about it as a human being, okay? Think about it as a human being. Why did Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or Picasso, all these great artists, or even musicians, why do they like creating stuff? Okay, for some there's really no need for it. Like you already have a good income, you already have, like, it's for some, yes, it's about money, but for some it's not really. For some there is a joy that comes from creating something. Okay, if you have ever tried to why does someone decide to write a book? There is a certain fulfillment you get from that. Not a very good way to define God, like he creates because he gets fulfillment from it. I don't think God gets fulfillment from creating. It naturally flows from him. Okay, it naturally flows from him. That's why, I don't know, I guess Michelangelo would look at a block of marble and think, I could make a beautiful statue out of this. And then he goes on to spend hours, days, months doing so. Leonardo would sit down and okay, on TikTok you see all these people and they're taking time and they take weeks and months to paint something breathtaking. Like, why do they do it? Because it is them. It comes out of them. They feel the desire to, I have to do this. And I think that's what it is with God. Like, first he's creator. That a defining characteristic of him. He creates not because he needs anything from the creation. He creates because it comes out of him. It is his nature. Just like how someone decides to compose a song, or to write a book, or to paint a picture. Not because he gets it. It's just them. The art of creating is a reflection of who they are. They are creative. So God is creator, very, very important. And God is also a parent. These are the two major ways we can talk about God's work: creative and parenthood. We are going to be looking at each of these in some detail, okay? So, okay, when we talk about creative, what do we really mean, okay? What comes with being creative, okay? The first is that he is the source and sustainer of all existence. Very important. When you create, talk to any person who creates. When you do, you have to sustain what you have created. It is not just this, you are the source because it has come from you, but you also have to sustain what you have created. If you have ever built a house, you know this. You build a house and every month, every other month, every year, I don't know, you have to maintain. Maintaining is a form of sustaining, okay? Now, I'm using human examples such that you can then push it up and try to understand how God does it. The entirety of creation, the entirety of it. Think of the earth, think of all the planets, think of the sun, think of all the other suns, think of the galaxy, think of the black hole, think of every other galaxy, think of every atom, every particle, think of all of that, and then put the aspect of sustaining onto it. Just like a builder builds a house and then has to sustain it, or else the house breaks down. You get, you build a house, you come back 100 years, you find, oh, the house is no longer in existence. Right now I'm in a house. I could be in a house where if I went back 200 years, there was a house here, but right now it's not there. You see? So he's the source and the sustainer of all existence. All that stays in being because he is sustaining it. That's what the first aspect of being a creator. Okay? You create it and you must sustain it, or else it goes back. I don't goes back to where, I don't know. It goes back to chaos or entropy, whatever you like saying. Entropy is in science, right? It says that it's this theory, like everything is always going back to chaos, always breaking down and all that. Not a very good explanation. So God sustains all that is. He's the one who keeps it in being. That is sometimes we don't know this, okay? Or we have never really thought about it. So when we are saying that you are alive because of God, you sort of think like, because of God, I'm alive because my heart is beating and my I breathe in and I breathe out and my body is working well. You are looking at it from the point of view of someone looking at the house and thinking, oh yeah, that house is there because it was built well. Yeah, the house is there because it was built well. However, the house stays there because someone sustains it there. Okay? You are in existent. You are living right now. You are alive listening to what I'm talking right now because God is sustaining you. Your body works, yes, just like that house. But you are being sustained by God. So he's the source and sustainer of all existence. That's one. Two, because he's the source and sustainer of all existence, that makes him sovereign over all. Please keep this in mind. We'll come back to them and tell you why these are important. Okay? His sovereign means that everything is under him. He created them. Because he created them, they are his. If we have all grown up in democracy, so we don't really understand this aspect. However, if you have ever read about kingdoms, or you have ever lived in a kingdom, like for us in Uganda, we have a number of them, and these things come up. Okay, a king owns everything. Okay, a king owns everything. They say divine. There are many reasons, but a kingdom is the closest reflection to what God is with his creation, because God created it and he sustains it. It is all his. He's sovereign over all of it. It is his by right of creation. Kings say it is by divine right. That's why they own things. But for God, he is sovereign because it is by right of creation. He created it. Why do you say like this song belongs to me? Why does a creator say that? Because he created that song. Why do you say this house is mine? Because you built that house. It may not have been your hands, you may have used money, but you built that house. In the very same way, the whole creation is his. So he deserves glory, honor, and majesty. Like these are his because of his sovereignty. Okay. Lastly, because he's sovereign, that means he is judge over all creation. We are in democracies, we give power to the judge. Okay, we give power to the state gives power to the judge to judge us, to decide. Someone has stolen my cow, I get that person, take them before the judge and say, this one stole my cow. If they find out that person really stole my cow, the judge can decide and say, okay, pay back the cow plus a fine of this money. What gives the judge right to decide for us? The state, the government gives him the power. What gives the government power? We the people give the government power. Okay? That's why we say democracy, government of the people, by the all the people come together, give power to the government gives power to the judge then can judge us. God is our judge because he's sovereign. He's sovereign because he is creator. By right of creation, he's the source and sustainer of everything. Now, because he is judge, it means we have, you know how like someone has stolen my cow, I get them, take them to the judge. That very same thing is also true for us. We don't do it like in real life. We don't do it like, okay, not everyone, I'm taking you before God because you did so and so. You not very many people say that, right? Not very many people say like, I'm taking you before God because you killed my wife. I'm taking you before God because you destroyed my property. You may not say it, but you don't need to, because he is sovereign. Once you do come before him, he has to decide, he has to judge what is right and what is wrong. Okay? It is his duty as a sovereign, his absolute duty as a sovereign. He has to judge. All right. That covers the one arm of his that he's creative, he's a creator, and these are the things that come with being a creator. Okay, so I know many people always ask like, why does God have to judge? I guess you sort of have an idea now of why he has to. And the other part is that he is a parent, he is a father. Okay, he is a father. We are going to see all this later on, but I'm still giving like an introduction to who God is. Okay, so he is a father, and being a father, things come with that too. Well, first and foremost, he's the father, so he's the source of life. Okay, remember God, remember the fact that he is perfect. He did not have to create life, or to make it even more, he did not have to create life as it is right now. Okay, he could have created life in any way he wanted. He chose to create it like this for a reason. That's what makes him a father. Okay, because he chose to create us in the way that we are. That's why he's a father. He's the source of our life. Okay, the other part is, because he's the father, that also makes him the provider and protector. Yeah, just like this side he was sustainer, here is a provider and protector. These are things that are his too. Okay, he must provide for his children, and he must protect them. Just a question just popped into my mind. Protect them from what? Maybe even protect them from each other, you know. So, and the third is that he is also a savior. All these come with simply being a father. The minute you are the source of life, the minute you are, do I even have to explain this so much? Every parent who listens to this understands this immediately. That a father is a parent, a father or a mother. You are the source of life for your children. You are the provider and protector, because they are yours. You are the one who brought them into being. So you provide for them, you protect them, and every time they're in trouble, you are supposed to save them. They are yours. I guess you get that. I don't need to spend. So the good thing with explaining some of these, like especially this aspect, is that I'm explaining to a human being who already knows this, already understands it. Okay, so God is both of these things. Okay, father here, or parent here, creator. Now, both of these, because God is perfect, he holds them in perfect sync. He holds both in perfect sync. This is very important, okay? Because I know you have heard so many people say, if he loves us, why does he judge us? Have you heard people say that? Okay? If he loves me, why does he judge me? he must be both. He is this and he is this. He cannot be this more than this. He can't be like, oh, I'm 70% creator and 30% parent. Or he cannot be, I'm 70% parent and 30% creator. He is both. Think of a CEO, a founder. Think of a founder of a company. Yeah, let's talk of Steve Jobs. Okay. Let's use a parent. Okay, a parent is both an authority in the home, but also a parent. You must find a way of balancing both. You are the authority in that you lay the law for how the home is supposed to go. I want my children home by 7. Okay, you are laying the law for how it's supposed to be because they are yours, but you are also a parent. To use a terrible example, Cersei Lannister, for those who have watched Game of Thrones, she was a great parent. She would die for her children. She was a terrible queen. You see that? So she was more here than she was here. That's why she was willing to have the entire kingdom burned down as long as her family stayed safe. God can never be that. He is perfect. That means for him, both will be always perfectly held in sync. So he would say something like this is like, no matter how much I love you, if you have done wrong, I will judge you. Okay? No matter how much I love you. We always think like because someone loves me, then they cannot judge me. No, that's not true. Oh, human beings, yes. For human beings, yes. If for most human beings, there is always this play, okay? You'll find like, for example, a parent, if a parent is too authoritarian, he's so much of an authority and less of this, the family sort of becomes like a dictatorship. You know, the man has said so, or the woman has said so, it must happen like that. I am the father of this home and I have said this is what is supposed to happen. You're speaking as the authority of the home, okay? And you're so much here than you are here, okay? You don't want to listen to your children. The home is a dictatorship. No one wants to live in such a home. And if there is a home and the parent is so much here than they are here, they are, oh, my children, I love them so much. I'll provide for them. I'll protect them. I will always save them. If you are such a parent, you'll end up spoiling the children, okay? If you teach them that I will always cover for you without laying down the law as the authority. As a parent, you have to be both. You have to both be an authority and you must also be a parent, a loving provider. So in as much as you care for them, love them, you must also lay down the law such that they know this you do not break. And if you break this, there are consequences. I hope I've done a good job of explaining this. Yeah, because this is really the point, the main point I've been driving at since the beginning, okay? To explain God, as the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This is who he is, perfect, held in love. God is love and all that. And the second point was to talk about him as both creator and parent. Creator, he is the Father. Creator, he is the authority, he is the sovereign, he is the king, he is the judge. These come to him naturally because he created. Just like for a CEO, these ones come naturally to him because he is a founder of a company. If the CEO is the founder, that is, okay? They come naturally to you. You decide how the company should go. However, God is also a loving parent, okay? So he is loving, he provides, he shelters, he protects, and he saves. Both of these, he holds them perfectly, okay? This has been the whole point of this part. Now, to continue, I thought I bring in a little aspect, just a divergence from this, because I hope we have covered this and you like have a sort of clear understanding of who God is. So I thought I bring in just a little bit of this, yeah, just for those who question, like, yeah, we have been talking about God this and God that. He's the creator. We belong to him, so he has a right to judge us, he has a right to protect us and love us and so on. But what if God really doesn't exist? An important point. Yeah, philosophers took some time to study this, and there are really five reasons why for the existence of God that I believe, and so many other people believe. Okay, and the first is that we call it the cosmological argument from a necessary cause. Okay, that there is a necessary reason for God to exist. Why? I was born. Okay, I can go back. I find out, oh yeah, I was my parents. It's my parents who brought me into this life. And I say, oh, who brought my parents into life? Oh, their parents. Who brought those parents and their parents and their parents, and you so back. And you go back and you go back. According to science, if you are really into the science thing, which so many of us are these days, we study it in school and all that, you'll go back a few 100,000 years, you find, all humanity actually came from chimpanzees, let's say, okay? Some form of ape that we came from, right? And so where did the apes come from? You go back, you're like, oh, apes came from some other creature, and that creature came from some other creature, and that creature came from back, right up to, oh, that creature came from, where did that creature come from? So this argument is that you cannot do that ad infinitum. You cannot do that until infinity. There will be at one point where you'll find someone from whom everyone else came, like the beginning of everything. Okay, if you're an evolutionist and you're like, oh yeah, you'll find at one point evolution explains how creatures change. It does not explain where we come from. Okay, so the cosmological argument is that, like, you go back, you'll at one point find that one necessary cause, necessary being from whom everything else starts. You cannot say this one came from that, and that one came from that, and that one came from that. How far back will you go? As you go, at one point you'll reach, and this one came from this one, and this one didn't come from anywhere. This one was uncreated. You remember the first definition of God? The one definitive thing we must know about God is that he cannot have been created. So from him everything else comes. We may not know who that is. Okay, we have glimpses, not the full him. Okay, that's the cosmological argument for the existence of God. The second one is we call it the teleological argument from design and order of the universe. This one is simple enough to explain, to understand, I guess. The easiest way, the way people explain, is like, a certain man is walking on the beach. Okay, he's walking on the beach, and then he finds a watch. Okay, this watch is not the digital ones we have these days. And when he sees that watch, automatically, he does not need anyone to tell him. By simply seeing how well designed the watch is, by seeing the second hand moving, and the hour hand, and the minute hand, and seeing all those little numbers, by simply looking at it, you'll know there is someone who made this. This thing could not just have fallen out of the water, that somehow stones hit themselves until they made that. It is not possible. So that is the theological argument from design and order, simply by seeing how well the universe is designed. And I thank science so much for this. Okay, the more we study the universe, the more we see how well designed and ordered it is. I do not know how anyone studies the human body and not think like, okay, this is just too designed. Everything is so precise. Okay, and that is just for everything, from a blade of grass to something as big as an elephant, to the sun, to the planet, to the galaxy. Everything is in just perfect synchronization. That one talks about design. Like, okay, there must be God. Okay, there must have been someone who created these things this perfectly. These things could not just have happened by chance. It is not possible. Just like you can't have see that watch and think, oh yeah, this watch happened by chance. No. By simply seeing it, you know someone created that watch. Oh, okay, and there's the ontological argument. It is gradation. It's the argument from gradation where you're talking about everything is graded, right? We have this, we say, oh, that is good, oh, that is better, oh, that is the best. You see, like you're sort of, everything we have, we sort of grade it. So the question sort of arises, but we grade it according to what? What are we grading it according to? What makes one phone, okay, that's not a very good argument, but what the fact that we have graded things means that there is that one thing from which all these things get their grade. Okay, in religion they call him summum bonum, the highest good, that good thing that all these other things reflect. That's why we keep grading them. Okay, that's why we keep grading them. I'm like, oh, that is good, that's better, oh, that the other one is best, but there is something that is the bestest of them. All these other things are grades of that thing. A bit more complex, and probably haven't explained it as well as I could have. Yeah, but yeah, that is the ontological argument. Some of these you just go and Google, and you'll find wonderful explanations out there. People using examples that actually make sense. Okay, that's the ontological argument. And the moral argument, the existence of a universal sense of right and wrong. This one is also so easy to understand. Yeah, it does not matter to which human society you go to, you will find they have things where they say, oh, that is right, that is wrong. Killing in every human society is wrong. Like, why should it be so? So we take it for granted, of course, but that is what this argument is about. The fact that every human society, be it completely cut off from the whole world or not, you reach there and you'll find out, yes, even here they believe killing is not right. Okay, so that's the moral argument. So this means that we have something written on our hearts by God. Like when God was creating us, he put in us this aspect that we know what is right, we know what is wrong. We can justify the wrong that we do. Yeah, we can justify it. That is so common today. People use reasoning and argument to justify so much wrong. Okay, I remember recently seeing a post on X, and someone was saying that slave trade was necessary because it's survival for the fittest. The world is survival for the fittest. As long as I have more power than you, I have a right to do whatever I want to you, including slavery. You know, a very good argument, I should say. Very, very stupid argument, though. But you know, we're trying to justify doing wrong. We are very good at that these days. But there is a universal sense of right and wrong. And this is because God put it on our hearts. That's the moral argument. And lastly, the argument from religious experience, which is also just as important. Of course, in this era that everyone talks about, that we only value things that we can measure. This one, most people don't see any value in it, but it is if a human being says that, yes, when I pray, God answers, you cannot just rubbish that. And okay, if one person, all right, if 10 people, if 100 people, if 1,000 people, if 1,000,000 people say so, you think all these people are just crazy? I don't think so. Yeah, so religious experience, based on the subjective experience of individual religious experiences. Okay, someone says, yeah, I find comfort in prayer because God is there and is listening to me. If you sort of get off your high horse and think, you get off the high horse of like, oh, I know everything. you can, if you listen to someone say that, you're like, this could be right. I mean, I have not had that experience, but it could be right. Like all these people think when they pray, God answers. It is a powerful argument, okay? The only reason it doesn't work out is maybe a lot of pride, a lot of, I cannot test it, I cannot experience it, therefore it cannot be right, okay? Which is of course very wrong. As we're becoming more global, we have to be more open to learning other people's experiences and taking them at that value, at that face value, like yeah, this and this happens. Yeah, so argument from religious experience. These are 5. There are so many others. I just picked these 5 cause. Well, I could not pick all of them, and feel free to go and research. So we are thank you for journeying. This marks the end of part 1. As I said, I'm thinking we are going to have 8 or 9 more parts like this, building onto this. One part builds to another, like so, and so on and so forth. So thank you for journeying with me on this, and I hope to see you in the next part.